All right, I'm Mike Morano reporting for DamonWildcats.com, and I'm joined right now by our head men's basketball coach, Mike McDonald, for a preseason look at the 2017-18 Damon Wildcats men's basketball team. And Coach, you guys are coming off a nice season, 19-9 last year, 12-6 in the East Coast Conference, finished 4th in the league. You guys made it to the East Coast Conference tournament semifinals. I guess we'll start there and talk about the guys that aren't here right now. You guys graduated 5 players, all of whom were contributing members of the team. And if you're singling out 2, you'd have to start with Arif Mamaitai and Supreme Hanna, who contributed about 30 points per game to your team last season.
Thanks for making me feel good. Actually, I got to correct you. We finished tied for 3rd. Tiebreaker-wise, we finished.
Sorry, we were 4th seed in the tournament.
Yeah,
sorry,
4th seed in the tournament, tied for 3rd. Yeah, those are a couple big losses. I mean, Supreme was kind of the heartbeat of our team in a lot of ways. He controlled the ball. He could get his shot whenever he needed it to, and whenever things broke down, we could kind of count on him with the basketball to be able to make a play. And Arif was a guy who's had some big-time games for us here. Really, his shooting ability was tremendous for a guy his size, but he also had a knack for getting big rebounds. So he really developed. Both those guys trying to play professionally now and having good careers after college, which is great after they graduated. And, there are other guys, too, who played big roles. J.J. Wilkes was outstanding for us last year. Really good off the bench and really a calming influence. When you go back and you analyze our season last year, our best lineup was when J.J. was on the floor. And that was that's going to be a very big loss. And then 2 guys who are real winners. The reason we've won 19 games the last couple of years, or at least 19 games, with Jesse Lalka and Alex Borges, who contributed in practice, played really hard in games, and were just great team guys and guys that you win with. So we got a lot of replacing to do.
I think the replacing probably going to start with some guys that you do have coming back. Deion Hamilton and Jeff Redband. Deion's a redshirt junior wing player. We'll start with him. Upped his point per game averages from 8 as a freshman to 12 last year. Really kind of relished in that role as your 6th man last year. I think you're probably looking for him to step into a little bit bigger role this season. And having seen him make that jump from 8 points a game to 12 points a game, are you expecting another jump like that?
Well, we're hoping another jump. I think that's a good way to put it. Deion is a very special player. Deion has a lot of ability. Deion can be one of the better players in the ECC, we feel. And we're hoping the next step in his progression is to make that jump to an all-league type player. He came off the bench 1 game for us last year. We won. And as coaches are apt to do, sometimes you kind of keep the mojo going, and we kind of liked having him come off the bench and be able to give us a real good spark and know that we were going to get some points out of him off the bench. And he was great in that role. We hope he's not going to be in that role this year. We're hoping that will develop into one of the better players in the league. He still has things to work on. He has to continue to improve, but he is a great work ethic. Really good kid, and I think he's a guy whose better days are definitely ahead.
And he's obviously a guy that came in as the best player off a really successful high school team, a team that featured Anthony Lamb, who's now starring at the University of Vermont. So Deion's a 2-time MVP of the Section 6 Class A tournament over there in Rochester. So a really good pedigree. So I'm sure you're looking forward to him making that jump. And then another guy that came in kind of highly touted, Jeff Redband. Sat out a redshirt season 2 years ago, got on the court for you last year, averaged 10 points a game, and knocked down 68 three-pointers, which was 3rd in the league. I
think Jeff is interesting, like Deion in a lot of ways. Those 2 guys have to they're going to see how the other half lives. And what I mean by that is Supreme and Arif, definitely Arif, and to a lesser extent Supreme, they were kind of always the focal point of the other team coming in, and the scouting reports were focused around them. So it was easy for Deion and Jeff, especially, to kind of live on the fringes and be able to be a guy who wasn't mainly a focal point but could play off those guys. The next step in the evolution for Jeff Redband and Deion is to be able to be a main guy and be one of the key guys and take that step. And I think they're both ready for it. Jeff especially has worked very hard this summer. He has tremendous range on his jump shot. He's a great team guy, and he's a very underrated defender. We really like him defensively. But again, to be a different role for them, and those roles were expanded now. A little more spotlight on those roles for those two guys, and hopefully they'll be able to adapt to it. I'm sure there'll be some growing pains as they go, because Dion only a junior and Jeff only a sophomore. It's going to be a little bit of a jump for him, but we feel that down the line they're going to be very special players in our conference.
It caught me off guard. I thought we'd get more than 4 minutes into this before you brought up defense. Your backcourt's going to get a little bit of a boost with the return of Jay Sarkis and Nick Petroselli. Both of those players missed all of last season with injuries, and both are players who have had success for you in the past. Jay's a guy that made 26 starts as a true freshman 2 seasons ago, averaged almost 9 points a game, shot over 40% from three. Nick Petroselli is really interesting. He was averaging basically about 10 points a game 2 years ago before he went out with an injury that's basically cost him a year and a half. So what have you seen from those two guys early in your early season practices here as they're working their way back?
You know, Mike, we were pleasantly surprised. Not as much rust as we had thought. You know, especially with Nick, he's been out almost a year and a half. As you said, I think both guys were going to go through a little bit of an adjustment period. You know, there's a little bit of a feeling out. We saw it when Torrance Dyke came off an injury 2 years ago, where it was like, you know, you have to get your confidence back. You have to feel like, oh, my body's going to be okay. I can do what I used to do. And it's taken some time for those guys to get to that point. Both are at different stages of their recovery, but they've been really good. And I think both those guys, Mike, they have to be leaders for us. They're 2 of the 4 captains that we have this coming year. And Nick especially. Nick plays so hard. He really loves to compete. He used the time when he was out to really work and try and develop his jump shot to make it better. And you were right. He really was hitting. He was on the uptick when he got injured and was getting about 10 points a game. And you could see him starting to say, hey, I get it. I can play at this level. This is what I have to do. And so we're hoping he will regain it. Will he regain it right away? Probably not right off the bat. But we think by the time we get to January, Nick should be in the mix and really helping us try and win some conference games. Jay had tremendous freshman year. We couldn't have asked for anything more out of him. Took over the point guard duties when Supreme Hannah got hurt and led us and really took the reins of an older team. But even as a freshman, you could see he had that leadership ability. Same thing, going to take a little while. Feel confidence in his body, feel the recovery is worked, and feel I'm okay. There'll probably be some good days and some bad days. But a guy we think going forward as only a sophomore is really special and is going to be a special player in our conference. So, you know, you look, the 4 guys we've talked about so far are 2 juniors, 2 sophomores. That's really nice. You'd like to talk more about seniors, but we don't have a lot of seniors. So we know that going forward, we're going to have to rely on these younger guys who maybe have played a lot of minutes to lead us.
That leads me right into the next question with another backcourt guy, and that's Darius Garvin, who's he's a 6'1" guard. He's a junior, and he's a guy that basically ended up starting for you the last 2 years out of necessity. But I think now you're going to see the rewards of the experience that he's got. He's a guy coming in again as a junior who's got 40 starts under his belt.
That's right. And Darius, it's time for him to take that next step too. I mean, all our guys this year need to take that next step, to make that one little jump and to go from being a guy who maybe the other team has 5th or 6th on their scouting report to now being one of the focal points. And that's sometimes tough to do. I think Darius has that ability. Sometimes it's a little bit like his personality, a little bit too laid back, and we've been trying to egg him on and push him and say, hey, come out. He's had some great games for us. I mean, you look at St. Mike's last year, almost had a triple-double. UDC, he had a couple of really big games for us against them, one being the playoff game here, where he has the ability. And now it's the point of being consistent. And that's really what you hope for guys after they leave their first 2 years, their freshman and sophomore year, as they get to that junior and senior year, they establish that level of where they can play and play at that level consistently.
So Tell me about other guys that you're expecting to contribute to this team.
Well, I think, we haven't talked about the seniors, and we have two seniors, Alex Milenovic and Xavier Long. Both guys have played minutes for us, have helped us win games, and we're going to need them to contribute and be very big contributors. Alex kind of plays an undersized center at times for us, and he's going to have to play that role really well, but he has the ability to run the floor. He can shoot the three. He can really stretch the defense, and he's a tremendous passer. And X is, he is the Energizer Bunny. He comes off the bench and he gives us that shot where he's gonna get us going. It's not necessarily from an offensive standpoint. It's defense. It's hustle. It's rebounding. And then he gets his offense by putbacks, by running the floor. And we're gonna need those guys to do that. X is another guy. He was voted captain by his teammates because of his work ethic. He's a very quiet guy, but a very well-respected teammate. And that's kind of what you want from X, to be that guy going into a senior year. I always say, play like X. Don't try and play like anybody else. Do what you do. Be the guy diving on the floor. Be the guy chasing down the rebounds, making the hustle plays. And that's what he has to do for us this year.
That's a role I'm sure he's familiar with, having seen him kind of do similar things for the last couple of years. And Alex Milenovic started out the season as a starter for you while Arif was out and had some really successful games, was an all-tournament team selection at the opening tournament. So two more guys to add in the mix for you that have had success. New guys, we talked about the guys that went out to graduation. You got to replace them with somebody. So amongst the new guys, who do you expect to contribute?
Well, I think one guy who's kind of a new guy was here for a little bit last year, Breon Harris, where he played the first semester for us last year. And Breon has a chance to be a very good player for Damon. He is a quick guard, can defend very well, can score, and I think you could compare him to a combination of J.J. Wilkes and Supreme Hannah. Now, not as experienced as those guys, not as seasoned as those guys, but he's going to need to kind of make that jump for us to be good. And another guy with a lot of energy, could come off the bench for us and give us a little bit of a spark, but I think has some real good ability. And then Andrew Sisko is a freshman. We're looking forward to watching him develop. He's very big. He's 6'8", 6'9". I don't know what you list him at, but he's big. He's big, and he's worked tremendously hard during his redshirt year last year to get even in better shape. He has some low post moves. He has the ability to play. And again, I think a guy in the future, typical freshman will have good days and bad days, but I think he has the ability to be a talented Division II big man.
Just looking at the schedule a little bit, you guys will open up with an exhibition game Friday against Buffalo. That's a team that was picked to win the Mid-American Conference. Sorry to remind you
Thanks
about
for
that.
reminding me. Yep.
But last year at this time, you were opening up against them, and they were a team coming off an NCAA tournament berth, and it was a game that went to overtime. You guys led for 12 minutes in the second half and ended up getting nipped by 5 in overtime. Yeah. But
can we not remind UB about that? We'd like to kind of just sneak up on them like we did last year. Well, you're not helping the cause there, Mike.
What are you looking for out of your team, and what are the benefits to your team for playing a Division I exhibition?
First of all, we're really thankful for UB to continue playing it. It's a great environment. I mean, last year you were there. There's 4,000 people. They have their band. The crowd is into it. What a great environment. You get Damon fans. You get UB fans. You get college basketball fans. And we kind of look at it as a great way to kind of start off the year. For us, it also gives us a chance to our guys to play at a level that's different. We're not going to see 6'9" guys like Nate Perkins, who shoot threes from deep, and C.J. Massenberg is one of the best guards that we'll face. Heck, he's one of the best guards in the country. I mean, he's really talented, and so I think for us, you're playing a higher level team. You have to compete at that level in an environment you don't usually play in. So I think for us and for Damon, it is a great start off to the season, a kick off to the season, tip off, whatever you want to call it. But it's a great way for us to start, under some bright lights, a lot of people watching, and see. You know what? Very difficult to win those games. Very difficult to play at a high level at those games. But we'll go play, see what happens, and maybe able to make some adjustments as we head into our season opener a week away.
Yeah, I can back up everything you're saying about the atmosphere. Last year, it was that game took on a feel like it was mid-March. Not the first exhibition game of the season on the first Friday of November.
That's right. And you know what? Our guys, you don't get to play in that a lot, in that type of environment. So when you get something like that, you embrace it. You say, this is awesome. Let's go play. You hope the nerves aren't there. You know, last year we also went to Siena a couple days before we played Buffalo, and I thought that moment was too big for us. That we were at the Siena game, and it was almost, you know, it was on their campus gym. They had a good crowd, and we kind of got overwhelmed a little bit and played a little nervous, forgot what we were running on offense, didn't communicate on defense, things like that. And I was kind of worried going into Buffalo because I knew the crowd would be bigger, and it's in front of the home people. And we kind of responded, which was pretty cool for me to see that we said, all right, good, we're okay. So we talk about that going into this game, like, looking, you know, it's all how you respond and what do you do, and let's see what happens and go play.
Well, we will have you covered with all the information that you need at DamonWildcats.com. And next week when we get together, we'll talk about the official tip-off to the regular season.
We got to do this again?
Yeah, every week for the next about 12 weeks, hopefully.
So I give you my social security number? Is that how it works? You pay me weekly, or
you could be like Coach K and send your assistants in.
Yeah, we could do that.
I could do a session with Coppola or something. We'll figure it out. But
let's get a little booster chair.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh wow,
that was a good one. That was a good one. Huh?
So we'll have you covered with everything you need at DamonWildcats.com. And like I said, next week when we get back together, we'll talk about the official tip to the regular season with the ECC CACC Challenge. That's a lot of C's.
It's like my report card. A lot of C's.
Presented by Western New York Knee and Orthopedic Surgery, PC. It's more C's. So we'll be back here again next week, and check us out, DamonWildcats.com.